Hello, everyone, and welcome to Harv's World for another episode of Ravensberg. Getting a little bit later start this morning. Not too bad, but still a little bit later. Just doing a little bit of a spring cleanup here. Getting some of this equipment washed up a little bit. Some of it's going to be put away for the year. Some other, well, we'll see, because I have a plan. I think it's going to come to fruition. Got my fingers crossed. The cows are doing nicely, mind you. Now, I did go through, check the herd, and we've got about 120 pregnant cows. What that tells me is I'm going to need to make space for more cows. Because, I mean, if we have 120 already, that means more of them could become pregnant in the not too distant future, and if they do, I don't have room here to put them all. The pasture can hold them for the time being, but they are going to need some place to stay for the winter, so I need to get that sorted out. And you can see I have the manure problem under control. Finally, I did make a manure run this morning. Yesterday I ended up doing 4, and that brought in about an extra 50 grand. So I'm not going to complain about having to haul manure. It's actually bringing in a decent amount of money. So, what do I need to get done today? Well, I need to get some fertilizer on a couple of fields. My cornfield over there needs one last coat of fertilizer, and then my new pasture grass up here, my pasture grass up here, this needs one final coat of fertilizer also. Some of it's fully fertilized, but there's patches of it that just need one more coat. So I want to make sure that's all evened out. And you can see this is growing well, and it's changed from little yellow flowers to little purple and red flowers. So I'm liking the pasture grass. Won't be much longer before we can get the cattle up here grazing, which will be very nice. Very nice indeed. My first goal for today, however, is to take this big bad boy. And yes, I know, I was just talking about fertilizing. You're saying, well, of course, you need to go fertilize. No. Either fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure which yet. Herr Huber, I feel, got a little bit exuberant when he was getting this farm set up. And this thing... well, this thing is a little bit of overkill. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like it. And it makes quick work on a lot of what we're doing. But I think we can do the same job with a smaller piece of equipment that's A, easier to store, and B, easier to maneuver. And, well... we'll bring in extra money for the farm, which will allow me to do some reshuffling, some redistribution, I will say. Maybe a little bit of expansion, and still keep the same equipment, relatively speaking. Now, at one point I needed... don't mind me. At one point, I needed to put lime on a field, and so I have a fertilizer spreader already. And so as far as fertilizer goes, I think that spreader is going to do what I need it to do. I'm going to make some adjustments to it, but I've already bought it, so it's not going to be that expensive. And better still, I'll be able to sell this off and buy a smaller, more easily used sprayer than this beast. So this is going to bring in almost 250,000 euros. That is a nice big fat payday for a piece of equipment that was really too much for what we needed. Very much too much. Okay, back at the farm. I just need to move some equipment out of the way because I need to sort out a couple things up here. I will worry about fiddling with all this a little bit later. I'm just going to move it around, get it out of my way for the moment. But see, I have this big breed-all spreader. And if I just add some spreader discs to it, it shouldn't. I should say it should do what we need it to do. Now I will need a herbicide sprayer. I still am going to need that, but again, I don't have to have anything the size of a building to make that work for me. There we go. Just get that pulled up next to the maintenance van. That's pretty slick, this little maintenance van. I hope I got it close enough. There we go. And I can customize this thing right from here. I can add an extension. That's only 750, so I think I'm going to go with that. And then if I add the spreading discs, I mean, that's only going to cost 8 grand. And that's going to push me all the way out to 18 meters. Much smaller piece of equipment that will do a much better job, at least as far as for what I need it to do. And it can do the lime and the fertilizer, so why wouldn't I do that when I'm sitting on this kind of cash? Although, what? That was weird. Okay. I don't know. Oh, I don't know why I would feel the need to have those spread out when they attach them, but hey, whatever works, I suppose. So I need to grab some fertilizer here. I don't want to get too carried away with filling up with fertilizer because I'm going to go about there. Because if I can manage what I want to manage here over the next day or two of spring, then I'm going to need some lime. I'm definitely going to need some lime. So we'll see how that all sorts it out. Now, I did mention that our cows are very pregnant, about 120 of them. And that means about 6 or 7 months. So sometime in the winter, because we're not out of spring yet, we get through summer and fall. Sometime in the winter, we will start having calves and we will start getting milk. That's going to be huge. So we are definitely ready for some milk. And that will start bringing in the money that we need to keep expanding. And we're on the 180. Yep, that is correct. And I am way off my line, so I'm just going to move out to my right a little bit. Okay, there we go. That's got us sorted. That should nail it just about exactly right. So yeah, this cornfield needs one more application of fertilizer. Our pasture grass needs one more application just to even everything out. And we are good to go. And then we're going to look at phase 2 of cattle production on Ravensberg. And one thing that I discovered, it's very interesting, is that Germany is the largest producer of milk in the European Union. Germany produces more milk than any other country in the European Union. That's pretty impressive. So going with milk cattle was definitely the right decision by Herr Huber. You know, if they produce that much milk, there are plenty of markets for milk products and milk in general. So kudos to Herr Huber for sorting that out. All right, Let me knock out this fertilizer. We'll see where we stand. Okay, the corn is fertilized. The pasture grass is fertilized. Everything is fertilized. Might as well take a look at our alfalfa since I'm sitting right here. Looking good. Looking very, very good. We're going to need that. All these cattle. We are definitely going to need that. Okay, let's just park this aside for the time being. I'll clean all this up later. I'll get it sorted. But it's out of the way right here. Oh, next little task of the day is going to be... I'm going to drag out all the tractors. Every last one of them. And yes, I do have a plan. Now, we have that big cedar. That's probably overkill for this farm at the moment too, but I'm not 100% convinced that's true yet. Not 100% convinced. Only 85% convinced. But for the moment, I'm grabbing my forage wagon because I need to get this bunker silo emptied out. This is going to be as good a place as any to park it. That's another reason I wanted to clean up some equipment today because, well, you know what this was used for previously. And I really didn't need my cows getting sick from ingesting the wrong thing. And now why is this going to be stubborn on me? Yeah, I can open it on the other end, but this end isn't opening. Alright, let's go see what the other end is going to do for us then. Might as well dump this off before I do that, though. That is a seriously nice bucket, I have to say. Okay, it looks like it's going to crack open from this end, so that's a bonus, I suppose. You know, a lot of times they just won't do it. I hope that that won't be the case here. You guys ever run into that? Seriously, it's really frustrating. It's actually kind of a common occurrence. And it's hard to predict exactly when it's going to take place. That's the frustrating part. You don't know when the bunker silos are going to decide, we don't feel like opening this time around. Which I guess realistically you wouldn't completely open a bunker silo. You would only open as much as you need to keep your silage dry, that kind of thing. But if the mechanic on it in the game isn't working, why not just throw out that tiny tidbit of realism and oh well, we could speculate about that for months if we really wanted to. Well, there isn't that much left in this bunker silo, so I'm just going to use the forage wagon. I mean, I was hooked up to it already anyway, but I'm just going to use this to collect up the last of it. It should handle it without any trouble. It should handle it without any trouble. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. You know... is it telling me I'm hung up? Sometimes the collisions in FS19 get really funky, you know that? Really, really funky, and it's annoying. And I'm sure each and every one of you knows exactly what I mean. I think we've all experienced it at this point. Maybe I should have just stuck with the bucket. Starting to look that way, isn't it? That's the last of the silage in the silo. And we're in the cleanup phase of spring right now. Just doing all the little chores that haven't been done yet and trying to bring in some extra money by picking up work around Ravensberg. And I am going to swing this back through the bunker silo. Why? Because I can, and it's free. It still says 8% compacted. That'll do. Okay, on to the plan. I told you, I have a plan. Now, it's getting a little bit late in the day, so not a lot of this plan is going to come to fruition today. We'll probably have to work on it tomorrow, the final day of spring. And I told you I was cleaning this stuff up to put it away. Well, that's no longer the case. No longer the case because, well, I'll just show you. Where was that? I don't want to go drive through the field. Somewhere up in this direction. Ah, yes, I remember now. I was scouting out some places. And just up this road right here, on the edge of this little village, which this is probably where I should be living, but I'd rather rent a flat than a house because houses are a lot more expensive. And frankly, coming off Pineapple Bay, I was kind of busted. Completely busted. So, there's this area right here. And this is only going to cost me 158,000 euros. Now, this can be turned back into agricultural land. Not only that, I can build a new cattle pasture up here. I can put in my CCM production plant up here. It's going to give me room to add to what I'm going to need to keep these cattle going. So I am definitely buying that up, which is why I brought the plow with me. Because now I have a whole bunch of work to do to get this all sorted out. A whole bunch of work to do. But that's okay. With a little bit of luck, I'll even have space left over to just throw some, well, maybe I'll just do more pasture grass here so that my cattle will have plenty to eat. And we'll see how it sorts itself out. We will. Well, I got very little done on that new area, but it's all good. I went home, got some sleep, stopped at the shop first thing this morning, picked up this little sprayer. Now this is going to do me a lot better than that other one, let me tell you. In fact, I want to double check and see. Now, from what I've been told, and I'm beginning to think that wasn't necessarily true, if I just hit these weed patches they won't grow back. I don't need to do the whole field, but it seems to me like new weed patches are forming, so I may have been misinformed about that. I think pre-treating the whole field might have been the way to go, so we might, because the nice thing about this particular sprayer is that it's upgradable. So just because it's small at the moment doesn't mean it has to stay that way. I can easily add on to it. But then again, if you think about it, it might be worth saving the herbicide and just hitting the small patches. I don't know. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. Darned if you do, darned if you don't. You can see our rye is coming in, but it's hard to see sometimes. Yeah, the big difference is between hitting the small patches like this and just pre-treating the whole field, because I know no other weeds are showing up in the fields that I pre-treated, is that I just have to stay on top of it and check it out every day. Hit any weeds that have popped up. That's not my field and I can see a weed patch out there. That's his problem, not mine. Okay, today's big goal is to get that industrial area taken care of. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's the last day of spring. It is the last day of spring, and we definitely want to make sure that anything we want to plant gets planted. I realize I've got a little bit more window of opportunity than that, but that's neither here nor there. Now this is a reasonably small area, and I do think I'm just going to put pasture grass back in here again. I think this is going to be pasture grass also. I thought about throwing a crop in here just for some extra income. Harv? Apparently I'm not fully awake yet. I thought about putting a crop in here just for some extra income because I'm not going to need the pasture for some time. I could probably get the crop in before our new baby cattle arrive. Still a thought. Well, we'll see. I could throw another corn crop in here and chop it for silage. That's a thought too. That could potentially provide us some good income for, some good feed for the cattle. There's so many different types of silages on Maize Plus. Because I need alfalfa, I need clover, which I've got. Those are growing, and actually those are probably going to harvest here not too much longer. Fingers crossed and all that jazz. But I need other types of things for my cattle also, so we'll sort it out. We will get it sorted out. Because of course we will. That's what we do. Okay, we've got ourselves a field. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. So, let's talk about beer. You know, there are over 1,300 breweries in Germany that produce over 5,000. That's 5,000 types of beer. That's a lot of beer. And Germany has been producing beer since the year 1000. Over 1,000 years of beer culture in Germany, if you can believe that. The monasteries in Germany started producing beer in the year 1000. Some of those monasteries are still around, if you can believe that. Now, beer was originally created by the ancient Egyptians. It's one of the earliest cultures to have discovered beer. And, there are a lot of reasons that those cultures adopted beer as kind of a national drink, if you want to call it that. Something along those lines. See, I knew I was going to need this guy again. That's why I left him out. I'm going to go through a coat of fertilizer on that new field. Then I'm going to go through a coat of lime on that new field. And then I'm going to see about planting it with something. No, but if I want to do corn again, then I would need to release a new planter. Anyway, beer. One of the big reasons, believe it or not, that people adopted beer is because drinking water was unsafe. They didn't know about fire, they didn't know about boiling water to kill impurities, and by brewing beer, not only could they have an enjoyable drink, they could get a little bit happy over it, but they also had something safe to drink because the alcohol produced when you brew beer killed off a lot of the bacteria that was in the drinking water. So beer became a staple of many ancient cultures. I mean, it was even given to the kids. And they didn't have any underage drinking laws. I mean, now, of course, we've got pure water. There's no problem there. And, we don't need to drink alcohol to make sure that we don't die from drinking foul water. So that's a non-issue for us, which is why, of course, we have drinking laws now, because people tend to drink alcohol for entertainment purposes more than anything else. And that's not to say they don't like the drinks they're drinking or the beers they're drinking. Beer has actually really kind of had a boom, I would say, over the last 15 years. With microbrews and things like that, people coming out with all different types and styles. But Germany is so serious about their beer that they actually have on the books what are known as beer purity laws. Not only that, those laws were enacted in the early 1500s. Yes, I know I'm going around in circles here. In the early 1500s, and they are still in effect today. And the basis of the beer purity laws is that beer can only be brewed with barley or barley malt, hops, and water. That's beer purity as far as the Germans are concerned. But, if you've got 13,000 breweries and over 5,000 different kinds of beer, well, you're probably taking your beer pretty darn seriously. Now, one interesting little fact also about beer is that many of the breweries in other parts of the world, for example, the United States, were founded by German brewers. They moved to the United States and opened up their own breweries here. So that's German culture is a big part of other countries also in the beers that we enjoy here. which I hadn't really thought about before, but it makes sense. I mean, think of one of our biggest Anheuser-Busch, well, whether you like them or not. That's definitely German. Definitely a German immigrant who founded Anheuser-Busch, and they are a worldwide name at this point. So yeah, there's a lot going on with beer. A lot going on with beer. Kind of funny when you think about it, you know, something that readily available. I mean, you can't walk into a store, you can't swing a wet noodle without hitting a beer can, pretty much. You see it absolutely everywhere. But it has a long, long, storied history. One of the things that they do in Germany is they will drink from a glass boot. And the word has it, or the story behind that is that there was a general at one point trying to rally his troops and said, "Oh, if you win this battle, I will drink beer from my boot." Well, his troops won the battle, so being a general, and a clever general at that, well, he wasn't going to drink beer out of his smelly old boot. He went to a glassmaker, had the glassmaker fashion him a boot made out of glass, and drank the first beer from that boot. And that is where the tradition of drinking beer from a boot in Germany comes from. At least that's what I was told. Kind of interesting. Kind of very interesting if you think about it. That field's not horribly big, so I'm not going to overload with lime because I'm going to have 18 million pallets sitting around again that I don't want sitting around. Man, where does the time go? I do want to get this last little bit done before the end of spring. I'm still debating on what to put in there. I just can't quite decide. It needs to be something that will advance our cattle. In fact, that reminds me, I need to look and see exactly where our pasture grass is, because it would be nice to get some cattle moved up there also. Pasture grass, soil composition. It's got some pretty strong growth on it at this point. It might be safe to go ahead and move them up there. I'm kind of thinking that it would be. See, now I've got another patch of weeds cropping up down there in my rye field, so I'm going to have to go take care of that also. I think I should have just pre-treated the whole thing, and that's what I will do from now on. Because I hate to babysit weed patches. It's very tedious. Now, overnight, some more money did come in from the biogas plant, and our, at least my attempt at moving that manure out of here, the ridiculous amount of manure that we have on hand. Ridiculous amounts. My God, if I had but known how prolific these cows were going to be, I may have done something different. Well, I couldn't have done anything different because Herr Huber is the one who set up and designed this farm. Although, I'm glad he did, because he's given extra money to work with just by buying equipment that's beyond the scope of what we need. And he's an incredibly busy man, so I pretty much have free reign to do what I want to do. That's what he said. Pretty much said. He's like, Harv, don't bother me with the details. I have work to do. You have work to do. Get it done. Or something like that, as I once again butcher the German accent horribly. My apologies to anyone who's German. It's not intentional, I swear. I'm just trying to Trying to express what Herr Huber is expressing. Really, honestly. That's what he said. Well, I almost got it right. Almost got it right. I just ended up spreading, I don't know, a couple hundred extra liters of lime on that field just to empty this thing out. No worries there. I'm still debating what am I going to plant in that field? I think my pasture grass has grown enough at this point that the cattle should be taken care of up there. And then I will get them some TMR and hay, and it looks like I'm going to need to make some hay here pretty soon, which shouldn't be too much of a struggle. We have the temperature for it, that's for sure. 73 degrees. That's going to be a good drying temperature for hay, I think. Plus, we're coming right up on... oh, am I going to be able to get this out of here? Oh, I'm going to, one way or another. You watch me. There we go. Okay. Well, we're just going to move 100. Or however many this trailer will hold twice. Come on, girls. You're not going far. I don't know why we couldn't just, herd them up there, but no, we've got to move them in a truck. Such is life. Well, they're getting up to a good weight, too. 515 kilograms. So that's 56. So if I wanted to move 100, I would need 44 more. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Hey, back off. Don't stay away from the truck. Don't want to run you over. I don't need any ground beef. I need milk, ladies. Milk. Okay, last load of cattle. I'm moving 100 exactly. And then we can swap these out as necessary. Bring 100 back down. Put them back in the pasture, or put them back in the... Yeah, you know what I mean. Whoa! Holy warping cattle, Batman. Wow. That's a little bit spooky, if I'm honest. Okay, 44 more going out to pasture. And this would hold 150, but I don't want to move 150. I just want 100. Okay, there we go. And before I leave down here, at least I'm going to go give them the water they're going to need. There we go. And then I will worry about getting their feed sorted. Let's look at their food trough real quick. Oh, it's not showing any grass. That's a little bit concerning. Little bit. Let's look at our animal dialogue and see what we've got here. So in the 100, they've got water. They have no fresh grass. So is that pasture grass not going to do it, or is it just not ready? I don't know. Many things to sort out about cattle with Maize Plus. And we are going to get them sorted out one way or another. Gosh, it's 6:30 already. Spring is almost over. Spring is almost complete. Man, where did the time go? But I am going to get these cattle sorted out. I'm going to figure out what I can do to get them fed. That's going to be a major priority at the moment. And I'm going to get equipment put away that I probably won't need for a while. And I'm going to crash into this wall. Why? Because I can. And it doesn't do any real damage. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this episode of Ravensberg. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favor. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. I very much appreciate you coming along for the ride. Until next time, take care.